I'm staring at the Chase Bank app on my phone, and my hands won't stop shaking. The number on the screen doesn't make sense. $23,476 in an account I haven't touched in 5 years, in my ex-husband's name. In my name, too. I have to sit down. My kitchen chair scrapes against the laminate floor, and I'm suddenly aware of every small sound. The hum of the refrigerator, the tick of the wall clock above the sink, my own breathing, which has gotten shallow and fast. I read the account history again. The deposits started 6 months after Brandon moved out. Consistent. Monthly. $1,200 like clockwork. I scroll back through the list, my thumb moving mechanically, counting the months. 64 deposits. 64 times he put money into an account with my name on it. Why would he do that? I think about the card. God, the card. The pity card that arrived 3 weeks after the divorce was finalized, postmarked from Sacramento. Cream-colored stock, embossed leaves on the front, his handwriting in blue ink. Thinking of you during this difficult time. Inside, nothing else. No signature. Just those words and the signature line empty, like he couldn't quite commit to the gesture. I'd thrown it in a drawer in my nightstand and never thought about it again. Until right now. Let me back up. Let me tell you what my life was supposed to look like by age 38. I'm Jennifer. I'm 38 years old, and until very recently, I was what you'd call stable. Not rich, not poor, just solid. I have a 3-bedroom colonial in Westchester County, New York, with black shutters and a wraparound porch. The HOA is aggressive. Linda Castellano, the president, once sent me a formal letter about the color of my mailbox. But the neighborhood is safe, the schools are good, and the property value has climbed steadily for the 7 years I've owned it. Brandon and I bought it together in 2016, back when we still thought forever meant something. Back when his hand felt right in mine during the closing. Back when I believed that a down payment and a 30-year mortgage were the adult equivalent of a promise. I worked in pharmaceutical sales. Good money. Not spectacular, but enough that I could afford the house, the car payment on my sensible Subaru, the occasional weekend trip to see my parents in Connecticut. I'd built something. I was proud of that. After my mom had her stroke when I was 24, I'd watched my father spiral for a year. Lost his job, lost his way, and I swore I'd never let myself depend on anyone like that. I became the kind of person who kept receipts, who checked her credit score monthly, who understood the difference between a 401k and an IRA. Brandon is, a contractor. Carpentry mostly. He had his own small business, just him and one apprentice, doing renovations and custom built-ins for wealthy homeowners in Westchester and Fairfield County. He was good at it. His hands were always stained with sawdust and wood stain, and he'd come home with this satisfied look after finishing a job, like he'd built something real, something that would last. We met at a wine bar in New Rochelle in 2012. I was there with my college roommate, Caroline, and Brandon was at the bar with his business partner at the time, a guy named Marcus. He turned to ask the bartender for something, and our eyes met for exactly the amount of time that felt like destiny to me at 29. It felt like destiny for about 4 years. We married in June 2014 at the Westchester Country Club. My mother wore a blue dress she'd bought 3 months before her stroke. She looked radiant. Brandon cried during the vows, which made me believe he meant every word. We honeymooned in Cancun for a week, and the sex was good, the weather was perfect, and I remember thinking, this is it. This is the feeling people write songs about. The feeling lasted until about 2018. It wasn't one thing. It was the slow accumulation of small disappointments that feel like nothing individually, but add up to resentment like compound interest. He stopped coming home for dinner. He said it was the business. He'd land a big client and the job would run long, or he'd get a last-minute estimate call, or the apprentice had fucked something up and he had to fix it. I believed him. I also started finding receipts for restaurants I didn't remember him mentioning. High-end places, Morton's the Steakhouse in Greenwich, a seafood place in Stamford. Once, a hotel bill for a room in Manhattan. When I asked him about it, he said they were client dinners. He said they were networking. He said I was being paranoid. And maybe I was. Maybe I was the problem. That's what he told me anyway. And I was young enough in my marriage to believe that doubt in myself was the same thing as maturity. By 2020, we weren't having sex. By 2021, he'd stopped pretending to listen when I talked about my day. We'd sit at the dinner table in our beautiful kitchen with its granite countertops and stainless steel appliances, and he'd scroll through his phone while I told him about a difficult client or a promotion possibility. And I'd watch his face and realize I was looking at a stranger. The divorce was my idea. I filed in March 2022, and I remember feeling lighter the moment I pressed send on the email to my attorney. It was strange. I'd expected to feel sad, disappointed, failed. Instead, I felt like I was finally breathing again after being underwater for too long. The settlement was clean. No kids to fight over, thank God. We split the equity on the house, I bought him out, and we divvied up the retirement accounts. His business stayed his. My job stayed mine. It was almost amicable, which, in retrospect, seems like a warning sign I completely missed. He moved to Sacramento that summer to be closer to his sister, he said. California had better work opportunities, he said. A fresh start. I didn't ask questions. I was too relieved to be alone. The card came in August. I opened it, read those 6 words, and felt a complicated mixture of pity and gratitude. At least he'd thought of me. At least there was some small kindness buried under the wreckage of our marriage. I tucked it away and moved on with my life. What I didn't know, what I've only just discovered by accident, was that the same week the card arrived, Brandon had opened that account. Or rather, he'd added my name to an account. And he'd been feeding it money ever since. I call my bank at 11 p.m. on a Wednesday night, my voice shaking so badly the customer service representative asks me if I'm okay. I'm fine, I lie. I just need to understand an account. Can it tell me who opened it? There's a pause. I can tell you that the account was opened in 2017 under the name Brandon Michael Hartwell. Your name was added as a joint owner in 2022, 1 week before the divorce finalization. My stomach drops. 2017. We were still married in 2017. We were still pretending everything was fine. Is there anything else I can help you with? The representative asks, and I realize I've been silent for too long. No, I say. No, thank you. I hang up and sit in the dark of my kitchen, the phone still in my hand, the light from the screen painting my face blue. Why would he open an account in my name? Why would he put money in it? And why, in God's name, would he not tell me? I think about the card again, thinking of you during this difficult time. Not, I'm sorry. Not, I hope you find happiness. Just thinking of me. Like he was sending a message I was supposed to understand. I think about all those restaurant receipts, all those lies. I think about what else he might have hidden from me. And I realize with absolute certainty that I don't actually know my ex-husband at all. I don't sleep that night. I sit at my kitchen table with my laptop open, pulling up every document I can find. Old emails, bank statements, tax returns. My fingers move mechanically across the keyboard, but my mind is fracturing into pieces. The account, the money, 64 deposits, $23,000 sitting in an account he opened while we were still married. I think about that card again, thinking of you during this difficult time. I get up and walk to my bedroom, my feet moving without conscious decision. The nightstand drawer pulls open with a soft resistance, and I dig through the detritus of 5 years. Old jewelry I never wear, a half-empty bottle of melatonin, receipts for things I've forgotten buying. The card is there, exactly where I left it. Cream-colored, embossed leaves, his handwriting in blue ink. I flip it open and read those 6 words again, but this time they feel different. They feel like a confession disguised as sympathy. My phone is in my hand before I can think about what I'm doing. It's 2 a.m. on a Thursday. I'm calling my ex-husband. The phone rings 4 times before he answers, his voice thick with sleep and confusion. "Jennifer? What's wrong? Are you okay?" The concern in his voice makes something hot rise in my chest. How dare he sound worried? How dare he sound like he cares? "The account," I say. My voice sounds like it's coming from someone else's mouth. "At Chase, the one in both our names. I want to know why." There's a long silence. I can hear him breathing, can almost picture him sitting up in bed, probably in some California apartment I've never seen, probably with someone I've never met. "That," he says carefully, "is not a conversation to have at 2 in the morning." "It's the only conversation that matters," I say. "Why, Brandon? Why would you open an account in my name? Why would you put money in it? Why would you not tell me?" Another silence, longer this time. "Because," he says finally, "it's not what you think." "Then what is it?" I'm practically shouting now. "Explain it to me, because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you were hiding money. It looks like you were planning something. It looks like you were lying to me the entire time we were married, and now you're still lying." "I'm not lying," he says, and his voice has changed. The concern is gone. Now he just sounds tired. "I was trying to help you." "Help me? By secretly putting money in an account? That's not helping, Brandon. That's insane. That's controlling. It was an apology," he interrupts. "Jennifer, it was supposed to be an apology." I stop. The words hang in the air between us, transmitted across 2,000 miles through fiber optic cables and cell towers, and I don't know what to do with them. "What?" I whisper. "The account," he says. "It was supposed to be an apology for what I did, for what I was doing. I opened it in 2017 because I wanted to, I wanted to give you something. I wanted to make sure that no matter what happened, you'd have something. Money for yourself. Money that was just yours." My throat feels tight. "You were having an affair." He doesn't deny it. That's answer enough. "I was," he says quietly. "You're right, I was. And I was a coward about it. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't end it, and I couldn't tell you. And I was terrified that you'd find out and leave. And I don't know what I wanted. I wanted to not be the villain in this story. So I opened that account, and I told myself it was for you. Like that made me less of an asshole." I sink back into the kitchen chair. My hands have stopped shaking. Now I just feel numb, hollowed out, like someone has reached into my chest and removed something essential. "How long?" I ask. "Does it matter?" "How long?" He exhales heavily. 3 years. It started in 2017. It ended the year we divorced. 3 years. We were married for 9 years total. 3 of those 9 years, he was sleeping with someone else. 3 years of restaurant receipts that weren't client dinners. 3 years of lies that I believed because I wanted to believe them, because the alternative was too painful to consider. "Who?" I ask. Her name was Lisa. She worked for a real estate company. We met at a property showing. "Jennifer, I'm not going to sit here and make excuses for myself. I was wrong. I am wrong. And that account was supposed to be a down payment on your guilt," I finish for him. "Yes," he says. "Exactly that." I look at the card in my hands. "Thinking of you during this difficult time." He wasn't thinking of me during the difficult time. He was the difficult time. He was the reason everything was difficult. "I want you to empty that account," I say. "I don't want your money. I don't want your apology. I want nothing from you, except to know the truth about who you really are." "Jennifer, no. No more talking. Send me a document. A real one, with your signature, explaining exactly what happened and why you put that money there. And then I'm going to decide what I want to do about it. I hang up before he can respond. My hands are shaking again, but this time it's not fear, it's anger. It's the kind of pure, distilled rage that comes from finally understanding that you've been lied to, not just about the affair, but about everything. About who he was, about who you were together, about the entire foundation of the life you'd built. I sit in the kitchen as the sky starts to lighten. 4 a.m. becomes 5 a.m., becomes 6 a.m. My coffee goes cold in its mug. I don't drink it. I just stare at my phone, waiting for something I'm not sure I'm ready to receive. At 6:47 a.m., an email arrives. It's from Brandon. The subject line is blank. The body contains just 2 words: attached. The attachment is a PDF. I open it with trembling fingers. It's a letter, handwritten, scanned, dated 2022, the same week we finalized the divorce. His handwriting is shaky, like he was emotional when he wrote it. The letter is 4 pages long. I start reading, and with every sentence, something inside me cracks open. Because it's not just an explanation of the affair. It's not just an apology. It's something else entirely. It's a confession, and it changes everything. I start reading, and with every sentence, something inside me cracks open. Because it's not just an explanation of the affair. It's not just an apology. It's something else entirely. It's a confession, and it changes everything. The letter begins with a date, August 15th, 2022. Jennifer, I don't know how to write this. I've started 100 times and deleted it all. But you asked for the truth, and you deserve it. So here it is. The account wasn't just about Lisa. It wasn't just guilt money. I opened it because I was planning to disappear. My hand goes to my mouth. The kitchen tilts slightly, and I have to grip the edge of the table to stay upright. In 2017, when I opened the account, I wasn't just cheating on you. I was planning to leave. Not just leave you, leave everything. I was going to take money I'd been skimming from jobs for 3 years, add it to what I'd been saving in cash, and walk away from my business, my marriage, my life in New York. I was going to start over in California with Lisa, and I was too much of a coward to tell you any of it. But then something happened. I got scared. I realized what I was about to do to you, to us, and I couldn't go through with it. Not immediately, anyway. So I did something stupid. I opened an account in your name, and I started putting money in it. Not as an apology, I wasn't that delusional. I did it because I needed to believe I was still a good person. I needed to believe that even though I was planning to destroy your life, I was also trying to help you. That if I left, at least you'd have money. At least I'd have done something right. It's the most selfish thing I've ever done, and that's saying something. The affair continued because I was weak. Lisa wanted me to leave, wanted me to commit to our future, and I kept saying yes and then chickening out. For 3 years, I lived in this weird limbo where I was cheating on you, but also secretly preparing a financial cushion for you, like that made any of it okay. When you filed for divorce, I was relieved. You made the decision I couldn't make. And when the judge signed the papers, I felt like I'd been given a second chance. So I stopped seeing Lisa, I moved to California alone, and I kept putting money in that account because it was the only way I knew how to live with myself. The card wasn't thinking of you during a difficult time. The card was a message. It was supposed to be a confession, but I was too scared to write it out. So I just put those 6 words in there and hoped you'd understand. Hoped you'd somehow know that the money was coming and that it meant something. It didn't mean anything. Not really. But it was all I had. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that the money was real, and that even though I was a terrible husband, I was trying, in my own broken way, to not be a completely terrible person. Brandon. I read it twice, then 3 times. My eyes blur with tears that I'm not sure are from sadness or rage or some complicated mixture of both. He was planning to leave me. For 3 years, he was planning to disappear, and the only reason he didn't was fear. Not love, not respect. Fear. And the money was supposed to ease his conscience, not help me. It was his guilt made liquid. I grab my phone and dial his number. It goes straight to voicemail. I call again. On the 4th try, he answers. "Stop calling," he says. "You were going to leave me," I say. My voice is steady now, which somehow feels worse than if I were screaming. "For 3 years, you were planning to leave me, and you didn't because you got scared." "Yes," he says quietly. "And you've been putting money in that account for 5 years as some kind of down payment on your guilt." "Yes." "I don't want it," I say. "I don't want any of it. I want you to wire it back to your own account, and I want you to never contact me again." "Jennifer, I'm serious. Delete my number. Forget I exist. Because if you don't, I'm going to take that letter, and I'm going to show it to a lawyer, and I'm going to figure out if there's anything I can do to make sure you understand exactly what you did to me." "What will that accomplish?" he asks, and his tone makes my blood boil because he sounds genuinely confused, like he doesn't understand why I'm not grateful for his money and his non-apology. "It won't accomplish anything," I tell him, "but it will make me feel better, and right now, that's all that matters." I hang up. 3 days later, the money is gone from the account. It disappears like it was never there. A wire transfer back to Brandon's personal account. $23,476. 5 years of guilt, erased with a few keystrokes. I should feel relieved. Instead, I feel empty. It takes me 2 weeks to make the appointment with Sarah Morrison, the divorce attorney who handled my original settlement. I sit across from her in her office in New Rochelle, a sleek space with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the harbor, and I tell her everything. The affair, the secret account, the letter, all of it. She listens without interrupting, her fingers steepled together, her expression neutral. When I finish, she leans back in her chair. "The account itself isn't illegal," she says. "Joint accounts are common. The fact that he added you without telling you is ethically questionable, but not actionable. The money came from his business, not marital assets?" "I think so," I say. "He mentioned skimming from jobs." Sarah's eyebrows rise slightly. "That's a different issue. Do you have proof?" "Just his letter." "That letter is a confession," Sarah says slowly. "It admits to embezzlement from clients, which is a crime. If those clients found out they were overcharged, they could pursue civil claims. And if the IRS found out he wasn't reporting that income..." She trails off, but I understand. Brandon's confession, the one he wrote to ease his conscience, is a legal time bomb. "What do you think I should do?" I ask. Sarah is quiet for a long moment. "That depends on what you want. Do you want revenge?" I think about this question carefully. Do I? Part of me wants to burn his life down, wants to see him face consequences for what he did to me, for what he was planning to do. Part of me wants to send that letter to the IRS, to contact his old clients, to make sure he suffers the way I suffered. But another part of me, the part that's been broken and is slowly learning to heal, just wants to move on. "No," I tell Sarah, "I don't want revenge. I want him out of my life, and I want to make sure he never does this to anyone else." Sarah nods like she understands. "There's a third option. You could contact his sister. She's in California, you said?" "As far as I know." Sometimes family intervention is more effective than legal action. If his sister knows what he did, not just to you, but what he was planning, what he's capable of. She might be able to help him get help. Therapy, maybe, an acknowledgement of what he's done. And if she doesn't care, then at least you've done what you can. I find his sister's contact information on Facebook. Her name is Amanda Hartwell. She's a dentist in Sacramento with a profile picture of her smiling at a dental conference, blonde hair and blue eyes just like Brandon's. I write her an email. Not angry, not vindictive, just honest. Hi, Amanda. I know this email will be a shock. My name is Jennifer, and I was married to your brother Brandon for 9 years. I'm reaching out because I recently discovered something about our marriage that I think you should know. Brandon had an affair for 3 years and was planning to leave me. During that time, he was also secretly putting money into a joint bank account in both our names, money that came from overcharging his clients. He only stayed in the marriage because he got scared of actually following through on his plans. I'm not contacting you to cause him harm. I'm contacting you because he needs help, and he's not going to get it if the people who love him don't know the truth about who he is. If you want to talk about this, I'm available. If you don't, I understand. Jennifer. I hit send before I can second-guess myself. Amanda responds 24 hours later. Jennifer, thank you for telling me this. Brandon and I haven't been close since our parents died 5 years ago. He moved to California and basically disappeared from my life. But I always sensed he was running from something. This explains a lot. I'm going to talk to him. I'm going to tell him to get into therapy, and I'm going to make sure he understands that family doesn't mean we enable his behavior. I'm also going to encourage him to make amends with you, if you're willing. That's on him. You sound like a strong woman. I'm sorry my brother hurt you. Amanda. I don't expect Brandon to reach out, but 6 weeks later, I get a letter in the mail. It's forwarded from my attorney's office. Inside is a handwritten apology. A real one this time, not a confession disguised as sympathy. And a check. Not for the full $23,000, for $10,000. The letter reads, Jennifer, my sister made me face some hard truths about myself. I've started therapy, and I'm starting to understand the damage I caused. This check is not meant to be payment for my sins. Nothing could cover that. It's meant to be a start toward making amends. I was a coward. I was selfish. I hurt the person who loved me most, and I did it because I was too weak to be honest. You deserved better. You deserved a partner who showed up, who was faithful, who didn't make you question your own worth. I can't undo what I did. But I can acknowledge it, and I can work every day to be someone who wouldn't do it again. I hope one day you can forgive me. I don't expect you will. Brandon. I stare at the check for a long time. $10,000. A fraction of what he put in that account, but it feels different. It feels like acknowledgement, like accountability. I deposit it into my savings account. I don't spend it. I don't use it to prove anything or punish him. I just let it sit there. A reminder that even people who hurt us can change, can grow, can try to be better. 6 months later, I'm having coffee with my friend Caroline, the college roommate who introduced me to Brandon all those years ago, and I tell her the whole story. She listens with her mouth open, occasionally inserting an, "Oh my God," but mostly just letting me talk. When I finish, she reaches across the table and squeezes my hand. "You're a better person than I would be," she says. "Am I?" I ask. "I kept the money." "You kept it because you're smart enough to know that turning down amends doesn't make you stronger. It just makes you stubborn. You took what he offered and you moved on. That's not weakness, Jen. That's wisdom." I think about this. I think about the woman I was 5 years ago, the one who threw away a card with 6 words on it and pretended it didn't matter. I think about the woman I am now, who understands that sometimes the most important lessons come from the people who hurt us. The house in Westchester is paid off. My job is secure. My credit score is excellent. I'm not waiting for anyone to complete me or save me or prove to me that I'm worthy of love. I'm complete on my own, and that, I've learned, is worth more than any account balance.